Quinshon Judkins got arrested in Fort Lauderdale. He spent the night in jail. He's accused of domestic violence and battery, and want to stress accusations. He does face league discipline upon an investigation by the NFL. And keep in mind, this could affect his rookie season because remember last year, Mike Hall Jr. was charged with domestic violence. And that happened during training camp in August. And the league was able to do an investigation in like 2 to 3 weeks. And he was suspended for the first 5 games of the season. So we're sitting here right now on July 13th. I have no doubt that the NFL will be able to acquire whatever information that they need to conduct their investigation to determine if, in fact, regardless of the legal outcome, because remember last year, Mike Hall, they, went ahead and had that situation taken care of outside the courtroom. And for the most part, I should say, outside the courtroom got taken care of. And basically, it didn't go to trial. So regardless of legal outcome, that does not matter when it comes to the NFL's investigative procedures, when it comes to the conduct policy. So Hall got 5 games. There is a chance now Judkins has put himself in jeopardy of a suspension to begin his NFL career. And listen, everything coming out of Columbus, and we're going to really dive into this today, like what goes on behind the scenes during the NFL draft process, how honest are coaches and trainers with NFL teams, and as well as personnel around universities and football programs. And we're going to get into some nitty gritty stuff to really kind of peel back the curtain so you guys kind of understand these processes. Because it's easy to sit here and say, oh my goodness gracious, how could Andrew Berry not see this coming? Well, all the reports coming out of Columbus, and coming up at 11 o'clock, we're going to talk to Noah Weiskopf. He was the senior editor for The Lantern in Columbus. He covered Judkins last year. He currently works for the OBR. We're going to talk to him because there were no red flags about Judkins coming out into the draft, at least on the surface and publicly. There were no real red flags there. So we're going to get into some nitty gritty here. He's due in court today. If any news pops up regarding that appearance, we will certainly pass that along. Quinshon Judkins, the Browns' second-round draft pick, arrested yesterday. This is from Daniel Ofusi of ESPN. He posted this on X. From Sergeant David Soika with the Fort Lauderdale Police Department Media Relations Unit. Quote, on July 12th at approximately 9 a.m., Fort Lauderdale police officers responded to the address in reference to a delayed battery. Officers arrived on scene and spoke with the victim. During their preliminary investigation, it was determined a battery had occurred. The officers made contact with the suspect and placed him into custody. He was transported to Broward County Main Jail. The suspect has been identified as Quinshon Judkins, date of birth there. He has been charged with misdemeanor battery, in parentheses, domestic, and then they put the specific legal statute for the state of Florida in there. Again, that's from Daniel Ofusi of ESPN. He just posted that on X. So that is the latest concerning the arrest of the Browns rookie running back, who obviously finds himself in a little legal trouble here, but also, too, potentially, Nick, it could face league discipline. We found that out last year with Mike Hall Jr. His incident had occurred in August.
Yep.
And the league office was able to get their investigation done, and they got him for 5 games to start his career. So, again, this is just accusations. That does not mean guilt. Law enforcement doing their investigation. The National Football League will do their investigation. And obviously we'll have to, sit back and wait and see what the results ultimately of not only the legal process, but the league process ends up being.
Yeah, that's where we're at now. And obviously it's very early in this process. Like I remember last year, Mike Hall's, actual legal case itself ended up being dismissed somewhat quickly. The charges were dropped pretty quickly, but then the league investigation took a couple of weeks and ultimately they got him for a 5-game suspension to start his NFL career with the Browns. Here's the one thing, even though these are just accusations, you never want to wake up to the news and see that your starting running back or the guy that was projected to be your starting running back spent the night in jail in Florida, the night prior. Like that's the one thing that I continue to come back to is how do we keep ending up here? How do we keep winding up here? I'm talking about the Browns as an organization, the Browns as a team, where this kind of thing continues to happen. Now, I get that there are incidents like this that have popped up around the NFL, and unfortunately, that's just going to be a part of probably the NFL for years and years to come as well, as there are going to be sad stories like this that continue to arise. But why does it feel like more times than not, when these issues arise, they're here? Why does it feel like these issues are just percolating with our players in our backyard? Like, this is 2 off seasons in a row with 2 second-round picks, both from Ohio State. And I know we'll get into some more on that later. Why? Like, where are we going awry in our evaluations of these guys? What's going awry when those guys get into Cleveland, where the message isn't sticking that, hey, you guys are going to get set free for a month and a half, go home, get your workouts in, eat healthy, enjoy time away from football, play some video games, hang out on the beach, but don't get into potential civil arguments with specific significant others. Don't find yourself waking up in the Fort Lauderdale jail. Like, how is that message being delivered? Because evidently it's not coming across very well that consistently these guys get turned loose into the wild and things continue to go bad.
Yeah, and again, we don't know the specific circumstances of what actually occurred or allegedly occurred. And look, it's easy to sit up in the ivory tower and say, "Oh, you just got to walk away," and
right,
which is true. You do, and if it is a relationship situation, emotions get high in those instances, and walking away isn't always the easiest thing to do. You get in an argument with someone, you end up provoking each other with words or gestures or actions. But setting aside the lack of knowledge and the lack of specifics that we know about what may or may not have allegedly occurred that led to Judkins getting arrested, I think you bring up a very valid point, Nick, that whatever messaging the Browns organization is doing, and they do, like, again, it's easy for me to sit here and, at least in my opinion, unfairly go after the organization or go after Andrew Berry. Look, there were no red flags with Judkins at Ohio State. I mean, he was obviously a model football player, but everything that we heard about the kid coming out of Ohio State was very positive.
Yeah.
Now, there were some concerns about Mike Hall.
Right.
So there's a little difference here.
For sure.
Okay. Now, there's the other question. Okay, so there were no red flags. That doesn't mean that there weren't actually red flags, though, right? And this gets into the part of the conversation about, how honest are college coaching staffs and the folks on these campuses with NFL scouts and front office personnel when they're doing their homework and their background checks on guys. And I've had conversations with people that are currently in the league, with people who have previously been in the league, and not everybody's honest for a couple of reasons. One, you don't want to trash a player. Okay, it's almost like an employment reference.
Right.
You don't want to speak in negative terms, especially if that player turns out to be a Hall of Famer or a perennial Pro Bowl or whatever. Like, you want that feather in your cap. You don't want it to be the guy or person with the reputation of trashing the kid or speaking negatively about the kid. So there's that aspect of it. Also, too, you want your kids to be drafted if you're at the college level.
It's a good reflection of you as a college football program if you're consistently churning guys in the top 100 of the NFL draft.
And then there's the other tentacle of the actual information collection and who you talk to. Well, you're talking to coaching staff, you're talking to training staff, you're talking to the equipment guys, the ball boys, the people that do the laundry, because the old adage goes, hey, if you're going to be disrespectful to somebody who's doing your laundry, how are you going to treat somebody who's superior to you?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that speaks to character. You're going to be talking to potentially professors or people on the educational side of things to see how that prospect, performed in the academic arena. You're going to talk to friends, acquaintances, to gather information to really get as clear a picture as possible on the type of person that you potentially could be bringing to your organization. Again, it would be easy for me to sit here and just go all in at Andrew Berry for bringing these guys in. I do know, listen, Andrew's a good man, okay? He believes in giving folks second chances. He believes in empowering and empowering people. He believes that, people can grow, they can evolve, they can better themselves. He believes that young men do make mistakes, but young men learn from said mistakes. And hopefully this particular situation that has popped up, hopefully that's what it is. It was a misunderstanding. It was a mistake. Hopefully nothing awful happened. But again, that's for the courts to sort out. And that's obviously for the league office now to investigate the incident and see if a violation of the personal conduct policy occurred. And then if it did, then, I would expect discipline to come down from the league office, much like it did last year for Mike Hall Jr. Again, Mike Hall's thing was like middle of August. And week one was about around, I think it was like September 10th or 11th, something like that last year.
It's about like a month away.
Yeah. And this year it's September 7th. So my point is, I don't think that the league office is going to have any issue coming to a conclusion. I don't think he's going to go into the season with this hanging over his head from a league discipline standpoint, because they wrapped up the Hall investigation in a couple short weeks. So I would anticipate that they would make a determination as to whether or not he violated the conduct policy. And again, I caution people, the statutes for a violation of the conduct policy are much different than the criminal statutes of whether or not he broke a law.
And we saw that last year. Mike Hall's legal proceedings were thrown in the garbage. There was no issue to even, there was no issue to even escalate to court. There was nothing to even show up for because it was handled. That doesn't mean that the league has handled their own business and their own investigation. So,
how worried are you about this? 216-474-0092. Are you concerned that, Judkins is going to miss some time? How disappointed are you that this seems to keep popping up with the Browns? I kind of feel like we're in our bubble here. So anything concerning the Browns gets amplified, but these issues do pop up around the league. This isn't just a Browns thing.
But I think what frustrates me the most is it's more than just a weird fact or a fun fact that this is 2 years in a row where a second round pick has been arrested in back-to-back seasons prior to week one. Prior to a game even started, we've had two rookies get arrested. And not to mention
Ohio State,
and both from Ohio State, but not to mention the year before that. So that's the last two seasons. The year before that, Perion Winfrey was on Instagram chasing a woman out of the 9. So why does this keep going wrong?
Go back to the Kareem Hunt thing.
Yeah,
it
does kind of feel like it's always us. I know that it's
Winfrey.
Not. But yeah, it feels so magnified because all of these infractions just feel very recent, and it definitely, I think, is skewing how people are viewing Andrew Berry right now.
Yeah, and again, these anytime allegations are made, it's serious. Okay, let's get that clear. But just from a football standpoint, it always goes back to the better you perform, the greater the tolerance for these type of situations to be understood by fans. And unfortunately for the Cleveland Browns, they don't really perform a whole lot on the field. The latest here on Browns rookie running back Quinshon Judkins from the Fort Lauderdale Police Department. They issued a statement this morning. Fort Lauderdale police officers responded to an address in reference to a delayed battery. Officers arrived on scene and spoke with the victim. During their preliminary investigation, it was determined a battery had occurred. The officers made contact with the suspect and placed him into custody. He was transported to Broward County Main Jail. The suspect has been identified as Quinshon Judkins, date of birth, October 29, 2003. He has been charged with misdemeanor battery, in parentheses, domestic. And again, in the statement from the Fort Lauderdale police, they put the actual Florida legal statute that he is accused of violating. He is due in court this morning. As soon as we get word on that appearance, we will get you updated. But he did spend the night in jail. So, again, that is the latest on the arrest of Browns running back Quinshon Judkins. Just a reminder, accusations are not convictions. Police reports are not convictions. The legal process will play out. And also, too, the NFL process will play out. He does face potential discipline under the league conduct policy. We were talking earlier, Nick, in the show here about Mike Hall Jr. and how quickly the league came to a resolution in which although it was handled outside the courtroom and did not go to trial, the league felt that a serious of enough violation did occur to the conduct policy. Now, the conduct policy is not legal statute.
Correct.
Want to remind folks of that, too.
That's the NFL being a private business.
That's
they can
right.
do what they want.
There are rules and regulating all that. So want to make that very clear as well. But the league felt that whatever may or may not have occurred concerning Mike Hall, that he needed a 5-game suspension. We will see here in the coming weeks, ultimately, what the league office decides to do here with Quinshon Judkins.
An unfortunate part of this, could we just throw this out there? Because I've seen some of it online. The Mike Hall thing, like, there was a video for this, and it's obviously early.
And the accusations of what allegedly occurred
happened were really bad.
Well, they were pretty damning as well. It was not the narrative that was written by law enforcement who responded. It was pretty awful. What was alleged and whatnot. Okay. We don't
have that.
Yeah, we don't have details right now of what may or may not have occurred. We don't have details on what Judkins is accused specifically of doing. We just have he has been charged with misdemeanor assault, and it's a delayed battery. A delayed battery.
Yeah. Which take that for what it's worth. I also find it interesting. Quinshon Judkins' mom is a lawyer. So take that for what it's worth. Maybe some sort of legal advice and representation for anything as it could arise, down the road. I think the frustration that I've seen most from the fans, and we definitely want to hear from you guys, 216-474-0092, on how concerned you are about this, is the fact that now under Andrew Berry's watch, this is starting to become a little bit of a recurrence,
There's a pattern here.
And obviously a very negative pattern. And to Andrew Berry's defense, Quinshon Judkins is a player that you hit on it, Daryl, last segment. didn't have many, if any, red flags coming out of college football. We heard that he was a good teammate. He was, a guy that was all about winning. Look at what he did on the field in the national championship game for the Buckeyes and what he meant on the field to their success, and everything off the field kind of matched that he was a guy about his business. Dude, it kind of broke my heart also when you read the birthday, 2003. Like, this is a kid. This is a genuine kid. So hopefully this isn't a situation that is that bad where, this could be career ending or altering, because Andrew Berry has been a general manager that rules with a little bit of understanding that this could just be an error. This could just be a learning lesson and a mistake that ultimately he could be suspended for and ultimately might have some sort of repercussions for. But you'd hope that this is something that Quinshon Judkins could bounce back from. Like, the 2003 birthday, broke my heart. This is a kid that we're talking about.
Coming up at 11 o'clock, we're going to talk with Noah Weisskopf. He currently covers the Browns for the OBR, but he also covered Ohio State last season. He covered Judkins as the sports editor of the Lantern. So we're going to get his thoughts and insights on the most recent developments here. Again, I mean, there were really no red flags with Judkins. Everything I had heard leading up to the draft was very, very positive. But as we've been talking about this morning, Nick, when you go through the draft process, I think it is fair to ask just, how honest are folks when it comes to providing details and information about guys. You don't want to be that person that, trashes, for lack of a better phrase, a player. And especially if that player ultimately becomes a great player, that you want that feather in the cap. Hey, I coached that dude. He's my guy. And, you're out on the recruiting trail. You can use him as the example of, hey, this is what I can do for your son if they come and they play ball for me. So, we talked about, you talk to everyone. You don't just talk to coaching staff. You're talking to folks on the academic side, professors and tutors and things like that. You're talking to the guy or gal that does the laundry for the team. You're talking to equipment managers, talking to trainers, because you want to see, hey, how do they treat those that are below them? Do they treat them with respect? Are they good person to them? And I'm not, just you treat them with respect and dignity, right? That's what we're talking about
nowadays.
Here.
They're talking with the social team. How do they are they collaborative? Are they responsive when you guys have ideas? And obviously that's part of their off the field duties now.
Especially this
the
day
videographers, the people that are running the TikToks. Like, that's who they're talking with, and that's why the Indianapolis Scouting Combine has turned into such a big spectacle.